when you look at California itself, where I just, I was living there till last July. I had a really bad feeling about California, and my wife and I had a lot of conversations, and we hopped into that traffic jam leaving California, heading for Texas. I've heard there's a traffic jam coming from New York also, but look at where they're at in California. If you just look at Gavin Newsom, and of course, this has nothing to do with politics. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Libertarian, but California's Newsom creates strike teams to enforce business shutdowns amid coronavirus surge. I mean, strike teams, these are terms, these are military terms for being able to drop in and wipe out, terrorist bodies, and now they're speaking of their own citizens in California like this. Here's, I believe this was a tweet or a Facebook post that went out from Gavin Newsom talking about this strike force. Establishment of enforcement strike teams. California will enforce public health orders with multi-agency strike teams. Teams will target non-compliant workplaces. Strike teams include ABC, whatever. You see it. You get the idea. He's really big on these strike forces. And what happens if you speak out against this? What happens, let's just say you're a politician, and maybe you're even in the same party as Gavin Newsom, and you're sitting there thinking, this is not what I signed up for. I do not agree with this guy. I do not think this is how we should be treating our citizens. Well, that's exactly what the mayor of Nevada City did. She came out and said, I don't agree with this. Mayor Renette Sinham came out in Nevada City. Look what she posted. This is brilliant. As you go about your day-to-day, no, there is no law that orders you to wear a mask. Our governor does not have the unilateral power to make such orders. While I know the headlines over the last couple of days have stated something entirely different, that is because journalism is dead. I would agree with you there. Again, there's no law that states you must wear a mask. Ask our local police chief or officers. They will not and cannot cite anybody for not wearing a mask because the law does not exist. When you come across Newsom's orders online, you will see it's linked to a page that does not lead you to his executive order, but to the California Department of Health guidelines. Again, nobody can be forced to wear a mask outside, in a business, or as an employee or customer. Spread the word. California Department of Public Health guidance, not public health orders. Really brave statements, brilliant and true. You would think that, in a modern world, people say thank you for standing up for human rights, but look at the headlines that busted loose once the mayor said those things. Nevada City mayor faces backlash after criticism of statewide mask orders and then Northern California mayor lashes out at Newsom's mask order. There is no law. The Sacramento Bee, mayor of Nevada City in Northern California, lashes out at face coverings rule. And that was the last one. Well, look, I am happy to report that the mayor of Nevada City, Renette Sinham, I believe is how you say it, is joining me right now. First of all, thank you. Thank you for representing citizens. Why such a strong reaction? You had to know going public against Gavin Newsom was going to bring some, let's say, energy your way. Why did you do it?
Well, first of all, Del, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to speak to truth. And I do want to say that though I just have a few more days of being mayor from Nevada City, I'm not speaking on behalf of the city council or the staff whatsoever. So why did I make that Facebook post? For many, many weeks now, I have been asking our county officials, Dr. Cutler, our director of the public health department, about what's the end goal here? What's the measurement? Are we doing a cost-benefit analysis? Over and over again, I have been told that's really impossible to do things like that. It'll take us years before we can actually see the damage that's going to be done from this lockdown. And that wasn't a very good answer for me. And to be honest, when this first happened, I was actually on the early side of being aware of what COVID was in January. And I started to warn our city council, I started to warn our city staff, and even the county saying incoming. And one of the things that I was really pushing for in the beginning too is that we should be quarantining, social distancing, really trying not to have big gatherings because, and this was in February, March. Okay. And this is where we just did not have the data. So people would come to me and say, well, Renette, should we wear a mask? I have a whole bunch of N95 masks. Should I wear a mask? What do you think? Should we quarantine? I'm like, you know what? Yes, because we just don't know yet. We don't know how virulent this is. So just to play it safe. And even then I was saying, just wear your mask now as a courtesy, because people are freaked out. And until we get enough information, we have to be conservative. We have to be safe. I was all over and supported the quarantine and the social distancing. But once it was extended, after we flattened the curve and our hospitals were not inundated, and then we were told that it was going to be extended until we don't know when, and the data was not backing this up. In fact, what data was backing up was actually very alarming. And that was these established actuary tables, right? And all of the empirical health care losses that we were seeing, which when you look at lost years of life, we have lost far less years of life from COVID victims than we have from those who have forgone their medical treatments, who are not being diagnosed, who have alcohol and drug abuse rising, right? Sexual abuse, suicide, all of these different things have to be part of the equation. And what I was arguing was like, we've got to stop looking at COVID in a vacuum, because it does not happen in a vacuum. It affects us in a myriad of different ways. And that conversation is not being allowed. And when I do ask these questions, I'm literally silenced. I am not answered. And you're right, there's only one narrative that's allowed, and that's even here at local government. And again, I'm just speaking for myself and what I'm experiencing. So when I went and made my post, I knew it was going to rattle some cages, and people were very mad at me saying, why do you have to be so loud? Why do you have to trumpet this? Can't you state it differently? I'm like, no, we are in a crisis. And I am speaking not to the mask issue. I'm speaking to the overreach of government when the data does not meet it.
Right.
It is actually, the solution is causing more harm and more deaths and more lost years of life than it is saving us. And my question to all my elected officials out there is, you took an oath to office that included an oath to the US and California Constitution. And one of your jobs as an elected official is to inform the public. And I've been trying to inform the public, not for weeks now, but for months. And Del, the reason why I was even keyed into the possible health impacts of masks, of wearing N95 masks or any kind of face covering, is because I've been a house painter for 35 years. And 20 years ago, I started getting a cough at nighttime that would not go away. And I realized and found out that I have what's called industrial bronchitis. Where did that come from? They came from me wearing my mask incorrectly. Wearing it for a day or two, thinking, oh, it's no big deal, it's a mask, it will still protect me. That was not the case. Whether I'm painting or not now, my lungs are permanently damaged from wearing my N95 mask incorrectly. So that's where I started looking at this differently, the mask issue, because I knew for a fact that it could damage. People say to me, Renette, medical experts, medical, nurses, doctors, they wear masks all the time. Of course they do, in a sterile environment. They have been trained professionally how to wear it. They know that they can wear it for a half hour to an hour and they must change it out. They know not to touch it or move it once it's on its face. When they go from one room to another room, they replace it with a new mask. This is not what the public is doing. This is what I was told, and all these other elected officials on our Zoom calls with the county, and our Dr. Cutler, who is the director of the public health department. And he too said, from his own personal observation, he could see that the public was wearing their masks incorrectly, and that it could lead to more health risks than not, and that it was a very false sense of security. What happened?
Yeah, right. I mean, and all of these things you're saying, we've been reporting now, just as you're saying, for the last several months on the high wire here. And I think as I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm asking what I think everyone in our audience, millions around the world, are asking is, why are there so few of you? Why are there so few people in government that are capable, as John Ziegler said, can you do math? Are you incapable of doing simple math? Will you just please do the simple math? We are not at the place we were back in January or even December when we were watching this thing happen in Wuhan. We had no idea what was coming. We have millions of people infected around the world. Every single continent has seen this. All the data is now available. We're seeing that, as the CDC is reporting, the death rate is apparently about 0.26%, mostly in those that are, older and have other comorbidities. And yet we are destroying our economies. What are the health consequences of children walking around in masks and babies? And I'm going to talk about that later in our show. But for those of us that aren't in government, and I've talked to a lot of politicians over the last several years, and it took a while to recognize government's actually just regular people that had regular jobs, painted houses, or were bankers or real estate agents that get into government. I think we kind of think, oh, they're just this special brand of human being that, we're just smarter than everyone else. But what is it, and especially in California, what is it with the government there that so few politicians can look at the obvious science and the obvious math and the obvious destruction that killing your economy, killing jobs, destroying people's ability to, thrive and make money, shutting, and as you point, let's just leave the financial issue out, as though Democrats, I guess, don't care about finances. I'm a lifelong Democrat, was anyway. By the way, I do think finance matters, but shutting, nurses being furloughed, doctors not in hospitals, no oncologists available, no nephrologists. I mean, why are you the only one?
I think people are afraid for their lives. I've been speaking out, and I've absolutely 100% been vilified. This is my hometown. I've lived here since I was 4 years old. And I started to invest myself in this community because I believed in the people. I knew that we were going to be having rough times in the future. And if there's anything I was going to invest in, it was the people of this community. And I've been asking myself that exact same question. What happened here? Because from what I can tell, we are in an existential crisis. We have lost all forms of what to believe in. And from what I can observe, we went into our homes in quarantine. We were then subjected to what I call fear porn 24/7. That did a number on us. And when I saw people walk outside of their homes, you know what I saw? It was equivalent to what I saw when I went to Hurricane Katrina after the hurricane and did mucking out homes, rebuilding, animal rescue. I saw people in a state of shock, PTSD. We have actually been traumatized. We don't know what our future holds for us. The world is no longer the same. We do not feel safe. We have no confidence in the economy, opening up businesses, investing in businesses. We are literally traumatized. And there's two things people are doing. They are either doing fight or flight. They're going into the fetal position and going undercover, or they're fighting for their lives. But part of the problem here is people are fighting for their lives with a lot of disinformation that has been sent their way in their homes for weeks and weeks at a time. And when you look psychologically at what's happening, it is actually considered a crime to actually put somebody into solitary confinement for more than 22 hours a day, 15 days a week, or 15 days in a row. 22 hours a day, 15 days in a row. Think of how many people are still to this day locked in their homes.
Wow.
And all they're doing is hearing 24/7, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. The news that I have been trying to share to my community for weeks and weeks now is, you guys, we are so lucky. It is not what we thought it was when it was coming out of Wuhan, which was, and this from Johns Hopkins University, that it was the number of infected was doubling every 5 to 6.4 days. When I originally signed our declaration, our disaster declaration in Nevada City, it was under that idea and belief, because those are the models, those were the predictions, that it was doubling every 5 to 6.4 days. Thank God that didn't happen. If it had, that means the whole entire planet would have been infected by the end of April.
What did happen? What did happen in Nevada City? What is the death rate there? How many people have died there? I mean, are you obviously you're being accused of being reckless for your statements. You've been in charge there. So what are the numbers coming out of Nevada City?
Well, first of all, Nevada County itself is interesting. We're a very long county, and on the other side of the county, you actually have to go over the Sierra Range, the Sierra Mountain Range. Okay. And so over there, they have had one death. Okay. They've had one death, and that was, I believe, an 80-year-old who was battling cancer. I also have to tell you, they had one 14-year-old commit suicide as well. So when you look at lost years of life, we're in the red, we're in the negative. We have a young 14-year-old who probably lost about 70 years on her life versus an 80-some-year-old who probably lost a couple years of their life. And so, again, why aren't we weighing that? But here we are on the other side of a range. We have one death. And this community, we are a community of activists. That's why I've invested myself in this town, is because I believe in us. When we are impassioned, we can move mountains. And so I've always been investing in ourselves. And when we were told to lock down and quarantine, we were on it. We did it happily. We did it beautifully. We were all in concert, that everything got so quiet in town. You didn't hear traffic any longer. People were walking around, visiting people throughout the town, saying hello. And it was actually a wonderful, quiet, peaceful moment in time. And we did it. We flattened that curve. But then there was this extended lockdown and the data did not back it up and nobody was speaking up. And I have to go to sleep at night every night and sleep well. And there's no way I can just go along with this when I know I'm looking at the data and I'm talking to people. I'm talking to medical workers. We're talking doctors and nurses, and they're saying the exact same thing to me. Renette, I can't tell you. Everywhere I go, Del, everywhere I go, I'm literally having people, ironically, pulling down their masks, right, getting COVID, bacteria, viruses all over their heads, and they're pulling down their masks saying, Renette, thank you so much. I so appreciate what you're doing, but I just can't. I can't speak up because my job. I can't speak up because my boss, Renette. And when I go out, it's so difficult for me to go outside now because everyone is pulling down their masks, setting me aside, saying, Renette, thank you so much. I thought I was alone. And I just can't speak up. I'm like, I understand. That's why I am. And right now, I would say I've lost about 90% of my friends. Why in the world would I lose everything that I've invested in, including my dear friends that I've known since I was like a teenager and a child? Why would I go to this extent and push this conversation if I didn't think I was getting backed up by something? If I didn't think there was truth in what I was saying?
Well, I can only thank you. For those that watch our show, we support you around the world. I know you've been getting support. You may have lost some friends, but I think you've gained friends all around the world. I want to tell you how refreshing it is to, hear from a politician. And they keep coming on the show. There are others like you. I hope that though your job as a mayor may be ending, that we see you in higher office. I think there's so many people watching this show right now saying, I sure wish I was hearing the president say that right now. I wish I was hearing the governor say that right now. You are right, and you're spot on with the science, your understanding of it, and I agree with you. I never put anyone down. I locked down with everyone else in the beginning when we didn't know. Maybe it was a man-made virus. We didn't know if this was a bioweapon.
Nope.
This is what America has to do. It's what the CDC is supposed to do. We did what you asked. We locked down. We made it safe. We waited for the data to come in, but the data has come in. And we now know that this does not have the death rate of any of the things it's ever been compared to, whether it was SARS or MERS or the Spanish flu. It's just not happening. And yet we are still on this crash course with the destruction of the country that we grew up in. Thank you for fighting for the United States of America. This 4th of July, you're one of the people that we at the High Wire will be celebrating as a true American hero. I appreciate you for taking the time.
Del, thank you so much for making this available. This is why, I want to be on the show, is that you allow us to speak to truth and not to misconstrue headlines and put out false narratives. That's why I'm on your show. I'm going on other alternative shows because the LA Times, the Sacramento Bee, SF Chronicle, they're not speaking truth to us, and it's time that we call them out. So thank you for taking the high road.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Have a great day. If you liked that clip, then be sure to check out our live broadcast of The High Wire every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. You can watch it on Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, and Twitter. We'll see you there.